Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this special called meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections and Registration to order, and the time is 6 p.m. At this time, I'd like to invite all those who are willing and able to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there anything that anybody needs to add or change? If not, I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0 with Reggie out this evening. Our next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding a request to approve permanent polling location changes for Fair Oaks 04 and Oakdale 01. We've got a couple exhibits for those, and I will pass it over to Michael to use the topic.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
This presentation pulled up. Okay, so I apologize about the map. It kind of outlined the parcel, but where the building is built, it's a little wonky, so just ignore that blue line. So luckily, we were able to find some permanent solutions. We still have quite a few to find, but we were able to get two done in time for the upcoming primary election. The first one we're looking at is Fair Oaks 04. You should have received an email, I think it was last week, giving you some of the data with the turnout, the combined amount of voters. The one thing I don't think that was provided to you was the distance. So we have a distance from Seven Springs Church to Milford. It's a 0.6 mile difference. You should also have a sheet in front of you. I added two more columns onto there just so you could kind of see the approach that we were taking from the co-location standpoint or an increased voter turnout. For Fair Oaks 04, that was one of our larger turnout facilities. I think in combined with Fair Oaks 02 previously, they were over 10,000 combined. So with these two, all of the precincts are going to have a minimum of 10 to 11 poll workers. When we get into the co-locations, obviously they'll have some more workers and then some more standbys.
I think we're going to take the two permanents first,
Yes.
and then we'll go into the co-location.
With
Yeah.
Milford Recreation Center, it's also serving as one of our early voting sites right now. We're having some syncing issues, so I'm not sure 100% of what the numbers are, but it was a fairly slow this morning when I looked. It probably picked up, but I'll have a better gauge on that when I get the numbers at the end of the night. But no complaints, so it must be going smoothly, or it was just too slow to have a complaint at this point. But no complaints is good for us. Does the board have any questions on Fair Oaks 04? This is a permanent solution. For how long permanent, I don't really know, but we're hoping that it's a solution for a long time.
I'm curious, how did we find this place? Was it community input or did the office?
So this is a brand new rec center built by Cobb Parks. And of course, we sink our teeth into any structure that gets built if we have a need. Luckily for us, it was fairly close. Like I said, 0.6 miles away from the previous facility. So they were gracious enough to let us use them for early voting. And then I kind of pleaded with them for, hey, you're already blocking it off for 3 weeks. What's one more day? And they were happy to help us. So
Great.
a lot of planning between the two of us, but we're looking forward to a long long-term use of Milford.
And this is, when you say the 0.6 miles, this is from the current location or outside the precinct?
I think it's technically still out of precinct.
Right, right. I'm just wondering, is the 0.6 from where its old location was?
Yes, so if you look
Okay.
here on the map,
Right.
it's from
Right.
the red to the blue.
Okay.
And I want to say this is the precinct, but this is outside of it.
Okay, so
I
we're
can-
still outside the precinct and we're just 0.6 of a mile from the old
Yes.
precinct.
And anytime we are out of precinct, we try to be as close to the border as we can. The last time you guys approved a co-location, or actually, no, I think it was Lost Mountain 04, a permanent location change. They were a little further outside of the boundaries than we like, but they were still like half a mile from the edge of the border line. But it was quite a distance from the original facility.
Okay, great.
Okay, and the second permanent solution we have for Oakdale 01. You will see this image again. But for Oakdale 01, it was previously at St. Thomas Catholic Church. This was one of the many off of King Springs that all kind of backed out at the same time, and we had a real void in that area. And then I don't want to bring up the anomaly that was kind of associated with it. Again, this location, which is IACA, we had help from Chairwoman Cupid in finding this location. And they have been very welcoming and very communicative since we've started the negotiations, and we sealed the deal with 1 minute to spare before 5 p.m. when we had to,
Notice it.
yeah, we had to get it to the MDJ. So it was very, very hectic, and I was pulling my hair out, but we got it to the finish line. So that's really good.
What is IACA?
IACA is India American Cultural Association. So this thing's in the way, but this
Yeah, yeah,
whole thing
yeah.
here is, and this is the newer, but we will be using this space. However, you can get into the location from both sides. We had site survey go out and check it out. It needs a little bit of work, but it will fill our need for sure. And it is 0.25 miles from St. Catholic Church, St. Thomas Catholic Church. Previously here, and now we're ready for here. This was a solution for us for Smyrna 7A, but when we looked on the precinct map, it was actually in Oakdale. And we had a need for Oakdale, so we went ahead and just made it Oakdale.
And then we'll circle back to it when we co-locate.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
this
and
is-
yeah, that's why you'll see the map again
Cool.
when we get to the co-locations. Any questions?
No,
Appreciate having permanent solutions for two.
Okay, so let me stop this so you guys can.
And we, one concern for that location, it's right across the street from the entrance to Nickajack Elementary. So traffic in the morning might be a little hairy,
Okay,
or in the evening, traffic gets really backed up on Cooper Lake on that part,
Mhm.
probably starting definitely by 5, but 4-ish maybe. So we kind of be on standby
Okay.
in case we need.
I'll
Traffic
put a note
control
on
over there.
that so we can see what we can have. Potentially, maybe somebody helping with traffic.
Traffic during
Along-
the school drop off and pickup hours. We got.
It won't be so much of an issue because on the 19th, it's early dismissal,
That's
Oh,
true.
and that's an elementary school, correct?
It is.
So they will be getting out at 12:30.
Mhm.
So lunchtime, it'll kind of be a little hectic, but
Yeah.
In
hopefully
November
just.
to be closed.
Mhm.
Right.
great. Well, I agree with Stacy. I'm happy to see that we got 2 of the 17 that are permanent. And we will, at this point, is there any other discussion among us? Or questions for Michael? We will open it up to public hearing.
Thank you.
Go once. All right, so if there is no public hearing, I will, we can take a motion on both of these together to approve these 2 permanent permanent locations for these precinct changes. If somebody wants to move.
I move that we accept the permanent locations for Fair Oaks 04 and Oakdale 01 as presented.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second,
It's been moved and properly seconded to accept and approve the permanent polling locations for Fair Oaks 04 and Oakdale 01. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. And we can move into the 15 co-locations.
It should only be, I want to say 11.
I think there's a total of 17 on here, so.
Yes, but some of them, remember, we previously already approved to co-locate in the
Okay.
year, through the end of the year, but also.
These are, there's not, it's only 11 new co-locations.
Correct. Correct.
Great.
Let's get this presentation back up.
Michael, on the spreadsheet on the right column where it says BMDs,
Mhm.
is that how many you're proposing to have?
That's how much we're going to,
Going to have?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I was like, the co-locations with the highest turnout from November are not
Yeah.
having the highest number of BMDs, so I was just curious how that formula was.
The formula is based off of how many active voters we've seen. Now, with the co-location though, it gets a little more complicated because how we would normally set up the equipment, we have to kind of veer from the norm because we would typically send 2 bucket scanners. And now we're having to use a duplex, which comes with 2 BMDs, but also takes up a bunch of power. So even though we would like to get more equipment in there, we're kind of limited on how much more we can add because we're having to use a duplex now versus a bucket scanner.
Because like, the second to last row, Terrell Mill 01, is that one of the ones you're presenting tonight? Yeah.
Yes, Terrell Mill.
We're going through all of these
Yeah.
because
Okay,
we have to
So we'll
approve
just
them all.
talk
Yeah.
about it as we get to it. Okay.
Well, and I think one of the things I asked Michael, and I'll just go over that with everybody, was I had sort of like a chunk of things that we often ask. So I think we can address those as a whole is voter notification plan on these, precinct staffing, poll worker, what's the changes for poll worker training to accommodate this co-location piece? What does signage look like, traffic control and equipment allocation? So those were my like 6 points that I feel like we need to kind of like address on an overarching level for the co-locations. I think those are all things we've brought up before. And I gave Michael some advance notice on that, so we can kind of, all of those are on the table, those items.
Yeah.
But Michael knew that, so and
Okay.
he should have those answers for us. But we'll take them one by one.
Okay. The first one is Bells Ferry 02.
And you can tell us if this is a renewal or a brand new co-location.
Sure.
too.
If I can remember. There's so many at this point.
I know.
Bells Ferry 02, I believe, is one of the newer ones. I don't think we've voted.
They're all on the, newer ones are all just on the agenda.
Well, when we say new, we haven't approved it in the past.
So some of them were re-upping, we're just renewing them.
Okay.
I think 11 of them are actually new.
Right, these are the new, right?
Yes, but like, for example,
These are.
I think Clarkdale in the past, we've already co-located. Roswell 01, we've co-located. Smyrna 7A, we've
They're just
co-located.
re-upping.
Yeah, they ended at the end of 25, so we had to redo them.
Okay.
And then there's a handful that we voted on earlier in the year that are
Right, but the ones that are on here are the new ones. The ones that are on the agenda are the
Yeah.
new news.
Okay.
for this year,
Right.
most of them. If we could make it any more complicated. Okay, Bells Ferry 02. Previously at Christ Worship, I don't remember why they backed out, but I would imagine it was one of the ones from the whole bunch of 2025s when we had all the elections that were kind of falling off. We are proposing to move it into Addison 01, which is the Culture Event Center. It is 1 mile away. So we are up here off of Blackwell and moving right down here, which is the shopping center off of Canton. As you can see, it's a pretty large area. They had a combined voters of a little over 5,000, a little over 1,000 turnout. I want to say both of those are a relatively lower turnout locations. But we are still sending 14 BMDs, 5 poll pads. All of the co-locations will have 5 poll pads. That's kind of the magic number that we can send to still supplement enough for other locations too. Because if we send more than 5, then some of our busier sites, we may have to short them, and we don't want to do that. So 5 is kind of the magic number we found with co-locations, and thinking about the power available in the facilities. And like I mentioned earlier, all of the co-locations will have anywhere from 10 to 12 poll workers, and then they'll have some additional standbys just in case.
And the plan is no bucket scanners at any of them? They're all gonna be
I believe they all will
in
have,
the duplexes?
yeah, just because for early voting, we have to split the scanners. So A through part of the M's on one scanner, M through W on the second scanner. But then in like the busier ones like Tim Lee or Smyrna, they may have sent 4. So 2 for the A's and 2 for the middle to the
Okay.
end.
So we don't have.
So, yeah, we don't have enough buckets to do it the way we've done it because there's so many
But
co-locations.
these are election day only, so
Yes, but to use the same equipment, we would have to come back,
Back in LNA.
get it back, flip it and send it back out. We can't do that.
no.
Yeah. So that's why we don't have, I mean, we could get more. It's just, we don't have the space to get more buckets.
But the duplex, there will still be 2, one for each.
Yes, each precinct will have their own. Yes, that's correct.
I voted today in a co-location place and it was easy and the
Okay.
worker was well trained.
Great.
I
Great.
had my printout and she said, look, you know, I knew what to look at, but she said, look, tell me where to look to see what my precinct was. And then she told me which machine.
Okay.
So it was easy.
If you don't mind, when we're off there, will you share where that location is
Sure.
with me so we can?
Co-locations, we don't have co-locations in advance voting.
Today at my location, they had 2.
2 scanners, but.
Yeah,
not
it's not a
co-location.
co-location.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
no, the yeah,
The split,
The split of
the
the.
precinct split.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you.
That's
For
okay,
that
I'm
correction.
going, yeah, it's co, like
Right.
co, the whole county co.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's good to know because we had so much troubles the last time we had to split the scanner with the
8.
individual identifying what precinct they vote at without us, looking at their
No,
ballot.
she was
So
well-
it shows,
Very good.
it's good to see that improvement through training.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so Bell's Ferry 02 is one of our new ones.
Yes. It says 1 mile, but that doesn't seem like it. But anywho,
We don't have a scale on here.
yeah.
Mhm.
Any questions about this one? I tried to give you guys an overhead shot, so I know you guys are always concerned about the location and parking and
Very helpful to see it.
I wanted Lee to be able to get her eyes on it too.
And this one is not that many combined voters. We're
No.
not, we're at 5,200. We're
Mhm.
sort of,
It's actually the smallest. Group combined members.
Yeah,
All the
exactly.
co-locations.
and we're gonna look at approving this one through the end of the year. So that's,
Correct.
we
All
won't
of
have to come
them,
back and do this again.
all of them are proposed through the end of the year. Of course, we're gonna try to find permanent solutions. as
Can I
we
make a
go.
recommendation,
Mhm.
or is that what you put in the contracts
We don't have contracts with
with,
co-locations.
oh, because you
Because
already.
we already
have that.
have the other, yeah, so it
When
may be
we
in a
vote,
contract.
I would suggest, because chances are there will be runoffs in January. And that's past the end of the year. So, maybe, maybe
Runoffs are in
the,
December, though. The runoff will be in December.
sorry,
So this, we'll approve this
Could
through
be.
12/31.
okay, all right.
That's what I
sorry.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what we noticed was through 12/31. I don't think we can change that date, right?
Yeah,
'Cause that's
we
what
were-
Why do we, no, why do we have January? We had January, maybe it was COVID. Probably
They got
COVID.
shorter.
I think it's that, you're talking about January twenty twenty-one.
That's what she.
You'll put me into PTSD.
But I don't think we can change the date of, because we noticed it through 12/31.
I think we also had
But that was before.
January in 22, but 21 we definitely did
Right, but I think that all changed.
because of COVID.
No.
But did that shorten it up a week?
They shortened the term.
Oh, right.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Which was that year.
same.
Okay. Bells Ferry 02, smallest co-location. New to the voters.
No more questions.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Okay. Clarkdale 02. So this is one that we have previously approved, this board has approved, it was last year. I would want to say we had to approve it for the PSC race, I believe. Sorry, changing one thing and not the other.
So you're saying this is an extension of what we already approved last year?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yes, this is the same that we've already had.
and there were no issues.
There were no issues, no ma'am.
Well, that's helpful. Okay.
Right, you have some.
So if we've already been here, done this, do we really have to go through everything here?
That's up to the board.
Well, I would say if this isn't a new site and we're
We move
extending
on.
and Michael confirms there were no issues, then I feel like we're good, but that's just my opinion.
Am I as well?
Yeah, I'm good with that, as long as we know, yeah, this is
Okay.
the new ones, right?
This isn't.
This is just basically re-extending it.
Correct.
Yeah, we don't
So
need
we're
to
good
beat a
there.
dead horse.
Okay, so let's move on to East Side 02 into Sewell Mill, this is Powers Ferry one, so this board has already approved this one as well. So it is a little tight on parking, but I have not received any calls on them, so they make it work pretty well.
At the
They
library.
do have additional parking down through here, but
I was
It's
gonna
kinda
say, there's
complicated 'cause you
parking
gotta
down
go
by
through
the
there
tennis
and-
courts, isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with this location because I go to this library all the time. There isn't that much parking, but you're saying they've already been here before
Mhm.
as co-located.
and we hadn't had any complaints of traffic issues
Okay.
or anything.
There is more parking down by the tennis
Right,
courts.
but
So
that's not
if
close.
it gets, no,
Correct.
then it is uphill, but
Okay,
All right. Elizabeth 02, this is a new one. So Elizabeth 02 Covenant Presbyterian Church, I think this is one of the newer ones that when we made contact about the primaries, I think that's when they decided that they no longer wish to host. We did have a couple of options there. I think the correspondence kind of fell off with, don't remember the name of the church, but there's one right up the street on the other side, which we previously used, but I'm not sure of the context of why they no longer, but they were called Sprayberry 01, and we haven't had that precinct since I've been around, so I'm not sure how long ago it had been since we used. But here we are with another co-location into Crossview Baptist Church, which is Gritters 01. It is 0.6 miles away. And as you can see there, it seems to be a good amount of parking. It looks like there is the ability to do drop off. Don't see any problems with this location. We're looking at
It's around 6,100
6,100.
voters combined. And the turnout was 1391 on this.
Does the board have any questions on this one?
For the new news, for those ones,
Mhm.
and just this is sort of an overarching question, do we have any sort of extended communication plan? Because we're close, you know, we're doing this sort of at the last
Mhm.
minute, so. For the ones that are renewals, those voters are going back to a co-location they've already been to, but for these brand new ones, are we looking at doing anything specific in those communities, maybe posting something in those libraries or in those areas?
We haven't discussed doing anything like
Okay.
that. I know Tammy has already started her posts, her social media posts. Of course, we had it in the newspaper and based on the turnout, the decision of the board to approve, we kind of got a leg in the game quicker with the mailings. So it'll be a quicker turnaround time because we were worried that since today voting starts, we have a tight turnaround to get these mailings out, and knowing some of the frustrations people have with the USPS, we wanted it to be as expeditious as possible. So
Have we gotten any further on having access to the county texting app?
we do have access to it. We just have to ask them, but they can push that out. But it's only to the people that.
That have
have
phone
that app.
numbers, but that's more and more, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many people have it. I have
It
it.
should be
I would
required.
say with,
We can,
from a priority perspective for community, I mean, we have to obviously do postcards, but when we're looking at some of these new to the voters precincts, I think, you know, like I'm looking here, okay, this is 2,300 voters. How do we reach them in their communities? I think we should I'm just putting it out there. That's something we should definitely look at. How do we get the messaging out in those communities? I have no problem with this. I just feel like if we can do some targeting in terms of how we communicate.
yeah, I can get with Tammy and Combs and see what options we have. And then, of course, we are legally obligated to put out the signage
Right.
and the banners and the yard signs and all of that, which they were working on last weekend. It was a pretty large order of signs. Tammy's trying to help us.
And nobody's
make-
giving you a hard time about that this time around, right?
No.
Okay,
Well, just that one same place, but
okay.
I don't think that's more of a Daniel question, but we've put up signs there for several elections. I don't know if we would still need to. I think we're voting on it again. We never permanently moved them, but we've been operating for 6, 7 elections
Right.
in that, and we really need to put up. So we could put it out, but it's just gonna make them angry and they're just gonna take it down again.
All right.
Where
So,
is this?
I don't remember, but
We have one that's.
yeah, there was
we need to
one
revisit.
where we reached out one time and they were okay with it, but then somebody else wasn't okay with it and they removed it, and then we come looking for it and then they couldn't find it. And so it was a waste of, the signage can be a little expensive when we have to do the banners and the yard signs, but we also have some solutions where we can make some of these signs ourselves now, and they look really great. It's just really time consuming, and the team, we don't have a sign team, so maybe we can look to get a new division for signage. But that would save the taxpayers a lot of money if we could do them in-house. Kind of like some of the other departments, they do like the OT and stuff, they have their own little sign shop. And we've been over there to see what kind of resources and got some ideas from them, so. That'll help us down the road either way, but a conversation for another time.
But I assume everybody agrees some targeted approach to communicating with voters is a good.
Sure.
Yes, and I like to push notifications also.
I know Tammy had mentioned to me that there's an ad campaign or something that she and Combs are doing, so I'll get with her and see
Great.
what resources we have.
Great, so that's Elizabeth O2. I don't have any more questions on that one. Does anybody else?
Well, that reminds, are we gonna have signage at the old precincts?
Yeah.
Yes,
Because we have, okay.
yes, that is that legal requirement where we have to have the 4x4 banner and then 3 yard signs kind of in the vicinity.
Oh, that's, okay.
Mhm. Okay. The next one on our never-ending list. is High Tower 01, which was Shallowford Church. can't remember. I think we co-located this one, but I don't think
You
it was.
co-located, my precinct was Shalford Church. My precinct was, Shalford Falls.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, when they were redoing their HVAC,
That's right. That's right.
So
And
this is new.
so we co-located this precinct, but this is a new one. We co-located it and it was approved at a different location. So
You're being
theoretically.
co-located, the site is new to the.
Correct.
So
no, Shalford Falls Church is where my precinct went to
Yeah.
as a co-location. They're no longer going to be, right?
Yeah,
They
so
were
someone
going
else came
to
in.
Chestnut Ridge.
So
Correct.
it's a new.
It's new. New.
Okay, so Shalford Church. They're one of the newer ones, obviously. We're moving it to Chestnut Ridge Christian Church.
Mhm.
A lot easier to get in and out of. Sits on the corner of Johnson Ferry and Post
Yeah.
Oak Trip, much easier to
So
get into.
this one is 2 miles away, which,
It's on opposite side of the
It's not,
precinct.
if they accidentally go to the wrong one, it's not gonna be convenient to.
and so when I was looking at this one in particular, I had questions to myself, just looking at the vicinity. But I was able to find notes from our site survey team. So I want to say that if I recall, I think it was Tim Lee, which is Popo one. It was relatively the same distance to each, but this one had, was it Pope?
It wouldn't have been,
Maybe it wasn't Pope, but either way, this was the option that had more room for the voters in the facility and more parking. So that's why we went with this one.
No, I mean, I think the actual site is good. It's just inconvenient if people accidentally go to the previous one and then have to turn around because it's at least 10-minute driving from, you don't think?
no,
from-
I know it isn't. I live right over there. No, you just go straight up Shalford, take a right on Johnson Ferry, go to, Post Oak Trip and you're there. Or you come straight up.
Mhm.
Well, there's no other cross streets,
Right.
which is a problem, but I wouldn't say it would take. Well, depends
It's
on
just
the
a
time of day.
I was gonna say, it depends on time of day.
Because, and there is a huge construction, it's getting ready to start. They haven't started yet, which is good, but in 3 weeks, I'm guessing they may.
Does the signage have the address of the new location on it? Like the actual address?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's good, because then people can put that in their.
Well,
GPS.
most people too that live in that area know where Chestnut Ridge Christian Church is because it's
Sure,
such a major
No,
intersection.
that's true. I just
Yeah.
was talking about people who don't even realize there was a change would just automatically drive to the last place they voted at.
Well, chances are that could happen. Turn around. and
Well,
go back.
hopefully our ads and
That's
the
the-
postcard that they get,
Exactly.
maybe they'll pay attention to
Let's
something
hope so.
that won't
Let's hope-
Well, that's why I
inconvenience
say
them.
some of the community, like, if there's a way to put a flyer in the libraries over that way or some of the community buildings. I think that's helpful for voters because those are places they visit, so.
Mhm.
I think we should create an account on Nextdoor for Cobb County elections. Because Nextdoor has gotten so large, it probably covers the whole dang county now, but, people do read Nextdoor.
Mhm.
I mean, the police put out notices on there that,
It's true.
actually a lot of different departments put out notices on there. It might not be a bad idea.
Okay.
If we can turn off the comments.
Yeah,
And use it for,
we can certainly talk
But
with
the
Cobb.
police precincts do it, and so that'd be a place to ask.
I know that some of the comments that I've seen on Nextdoor have been very
Right.
critical.
You just gotta turn them off and make it like a
So,
notification.
just information.
That would just kind of be a thing that comms would have to decide.
Mhm.
That's
I'm
appropriate
not
for
sure
me
how
to
you
comment.
turn it off.
I don't know
but,
either,
It may be through a different type of account.
maybe.
But all the police precincts have it, so that's.
Yeah, they do.
It's a good point.
That's a good idea.
All right, so I guess, are we good with Hightower 01?
Yep.
Okay.
It's got a picture. Yep. And that's only one way in and out though, right?
I believe there's 2.
Chestnut Ridge.
Is there a second way out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post Oak Trip and Johnson
Right
Ferry.
here, right
Each
here.
has its own.
Okay,
And the second one is right turn only exiting.
Right.
Can't turn which one's on. the
Oh, yeah.
Coming out onto Johnson Ferry is right turn only, but Post Oak is left or right.
You wouldn't want to turn left onto Johnson. Ferry.
Well, there's a median there.
Isn't there a light? I think there's a light right down here, isn't there?
There's a light at Post Oak and Johnson Ferry. So
I think it's just something to look out at,
Sure,
from a traffic
sure,
control.
we are very critical of traffic
Mhm.
patterns now.
Yeah, traffic flow would be
Mhm.
something to look into and making sure who's ever,
this is Atlanta. If you can find some place that doesn't have a traffic problem, let me know. I'm moving.
oh, no, I know.
Okay.
Marietta 4 Bravo. This was Liberty Church. We are co-locating
Are we
into,
skipping?
Skipped.
Those
Well,
two, we already did those in January.
So we don't have to talk about it. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
we have all
I'm looking
17
at
on
a
here. There's only
different
11 that we're talking
Okay.
about today.
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay. So Marietta 4 Bravo, previously Liberty Church, co-locating into Elizabeth 01 Cobb EMC. I actually asked Daniel for some help on this one, because of his vast knowledge of the city of Marietta.
I gave him a few, but I don't think anybody bid on it.
Well, actually, we did meet at Custer Park and we were gonna make that work.
Okay.
But because of the way their board has to vote on it and all the things,
Yeah.
we didn't have the time. So I told them we'd come look at the space. Site survey said it's a great space. You walk in, boom, the room's right there. And then there's even another big room on the other side that we can stage the equipment. They were happy to have us there. My only concern is the parking lot is kind of on a slope. So we'd have to just kind of dedicate maybe some drop off somehow, or figure out a flatter area to have some ADA parking. But other than that, it's a great
That's a
space.
potential for
Permanent.
permanent.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually just across the line in 5, but it's literally like right on the street. It's like right there at 4.
Oh, they're not-
I didn't even know that.
Well, that's not even in the city. Cobb EMC's not even in.
I was getting ready to ask about that. Cobb EMC is
It's just, it's in a little pocket between two chunks. of
So
the city.
we had another option was within the city limits, but the space was tight, the parking was smaller. This option is much larger, much bigger parking, so therefore better for the voters.
And Liberty was way up outside of 4 now.
Yes.
It was, well, after redistricting, Liberty's like 5, 4 to 5, I think. Or 6, maybe 6, but this is actually a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit closer to Ward 4, because that's that Kennestone area. So you're moving back towards Kennestone Hospital, and which is where most of 4 is. So Custer will actually end up being on it's on Fairground, so it's it'll be down there at the bottom on the right, but that, for right now, that's a little bit closer for people.
So how far is EMC outside the perimeter of the boundaries?
It's probably about the same distance as. We're looking, I mean, that's.
You can't really see the color
Yeah.
on here,
No, I
but
can't.
yeah, so if you look at your,
You mean those maps are
Here's the map.
colored?
yeah.
Yeah, here's Marietta 4B. Here's where we were and here's where we're going.
Okay.
So,
And it's 0.5 from where it was to now.
We're inching closer to
Yes.
being in freezing.
We're getting there.
and Custer is also not in precinct, but you said it's closer.
Well, it sits on the street that's the border. Custer would be.
Name of the street?
Fairground, so Custer would be right here. So it'd be right on the border.
Okay,
Pass it all the time. I didn't even know it was there.
It's good. Not smudging.
Said that's where you work out. So he told me.
but Cobb EMC
Not
looks
enough.
like I mean, I know there's a ton of parking there.
Yeah, and then the space is huge.
Yeah.
I think it's an auditorium, or I think that's what they call it, and it's
It's like, yeah, like it's like.
when
a
you
bit-
go
a
in
bit-
there, it's just, they use like a small chunk, but I mean, it's like if we ever went to mass voting centers, like that would be a spot that we could fit a lot of equipment in. And it's Cobb EMC, so they have plenty of power. That would be a great solution
This
for us.
discussion has prompted a thought, I think our workers need to be trained. If voters come in and complain, This is to whatever they complain about. I think our workers should direct them to submit suggestions. Use the form that we have to tell people
Yeah.
to say, oh, if you have a location you would like us to survey, check out, please complete this form.
Okay, we can do that.
Because I'd imagine there will be some complaints, and if the workers know to direct them to that form.
Well, and we do see that a lot in Marietta where people are like, this is not in my ward.
That's what made me think.
Yeah, and we're like, well,
Give us a place that will.
Right.
We would love for you.
Well, we're fortunate enough that most voters have no clue where their voting boundaries are.
they know their wards in Marietta though. They totally, like Daniel, I said the
Maybe
same thing
for
you did, and then Daniel was like,
maybe
no,
for
everybody
the
knows their
school.
ward.
What you vote for.
Mhm.
It's the council people, the council people are like, why am I voting in Johnny's ward when I'm in?
Right, they seem to know.
Jason's ward.
Well, with the redistricting, I think it just caused more confusion than anything, and the conflicting maps and all of that, I think.
Oh,
a
you
lot of-
think?
A lot of people were,
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll have a permanent location for this one, but for right now, Cobb and C looks like a
and
good
we
location.
are actively trying to get the maps and all of that updated, and we're just.
I think
So that's another-
I think
Yeah,
we're
that's-
good with DMC.
That's a new.
That's another new.
That's a new, and
Yes.
new.
Okay, got it.
Oh, I'm
right.
using the wrong
I think
mouse.
I'm good with that one.
My screen here.
We don't use Cobb and C for anything else though.
No, we did. They are,
Co-living.
Well, I mean, that's a permanent location then for the.
yes. Or whatever,
ELO1.
yeah, ELO1.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. That was one of the first precincts I ever visited, and I was like expecting every precinct to be like that, and boy, was that wrong.
So now we're jumping to Palmer 01.
Correct.
Couple down on the schedule.
Palmer 01, Calvary Chapel, Woodstock. We're requesting co-locating into Bells Ferry 04, Shiloh Hills Baptist Church off of Hawkins Store.
Is this a renew?
This is not a renew.
This is a new.
This is a new.
That's closer.
It is 1 mile distance,
Yeah, it definitely looks cool.
And closer.
closer to the precinct. And as you can see, I don't know exactly which part of the building we're voting in, but there is plenty of parking and several ways in and out.
This is a new.
Yes, this is a new one.
This is a new one and
And it's closer to the precinct boundary.
6,200 combined voters, so biggie.
Turn up.
Which is the building that we're using?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I could look it up real quick, but it'll take me a couple minutes.
do you know that?
You go in and it's like up a hill through the driveway. And then it's like right in front of you, but I can't tell which driveway I come in from.
It might be,
Like, if that's Hawkins' store. I think there's another driveway over there maybe, and it's this one. I'm not sure.
It's fine.
But it's convenient.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Okay.
You have to watch where you put the signage for the drive. If this is the one I'm remembering right, I'm pretty sure it is.
I can find out and just make sure we have that under control. Did I say it was a mile difference?
You said it's a mile from the previous,
But closer.
but
But
closer
closer.
to the precinct, yeah. And this is Ellsbury.
Roswell 01 is isn't that a retread?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we done with,
Oh, sorry.
are we done with
Oh,
Palmer?
Yeah, I mean,
Done with Palmer?
yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Roswell 01, that's a renew. I think you've been in Catholic Church of St. Anne.
Yes. As you can see on the map, it's already actually here, so that just shows you that we already approved it.
They're
From
just
where?
renewing this one.
Mhm.
There's plenty of parking there.
Yes,
That's a big place.
okay.
So we're good. Anybody questions on the
Okay.
Roswell 01?
No.
Okay, Smyrna 7 Alpha, the precinct everyone's been talking about for a while now. we have some potential solutions. Beth is just bringing up one that we're gonna look into. Hopefully, we can make something work there. But we had some solutions and we just couldn't get to the finish line. But when IACA reached out and we realized it was Oakdale, but in the location in the vicinity was very close to where the old location was and close to the boundaries. We're just like, this is as good as a solution as we're gonna get with the time that we had permitted. So we went ahead and sealed the deal for Oakdale, for IACA for Oakdale. And we are requesting to co-locate Smyrna 7A into IACA, India American Cultural Association. It's 1 mile difference. I feel like it was less than that when I was mapping it out, but,
It says 6.
oh, I didn't change my map. That's one. So sorry, I'm trying to,
I mean, it's just a very large number of voters, but
yes,
And this is the place where we had an incident
yes,
previously with these voters,
yes.
it's already been burned.
with the last co-location. So,
What was the incident?
That was the Thompson.
That was Thompson.
I didn't want to say it, but Thompson
That's right.
community.
So we couldn't get in and out of the.
That wasn't exactly an incident.
but that's these voters.
Those are the smaller 7A.
Traffic backed up for miles. We had to give people levers as they were sitting in traffic.
The poll
At
manager
7 o'clock.
in this location,
It was not pretty.
are they going to be the same poll managers from last time? do we know?
I'm not sure. I'd have to confirm that with Kara. I know we try to keep our seasoned poll managers
Yeah.
where they're comfortable. But sometimes with turnover, sometimes we have to plug people in where, we need them. But I would imagine,
I think that crew did a very good job in a difficult situation.
Sure.
And they know their voters. My one request, having worked the polls and knowing like you get to know your voters, is to try to have some
Continuity.
consistency
Sure.
with the staff as best we can.
Mhm.
Because I think I think that will help ease another transition for voters who might be weary of a second transition. Hopefully it'll be smooth. I mean, I think this is a really good location. I just think that continuity with staff in particular here, coming off the heels of
Mhm.
Thompson, would be really
yeah,
important.
I can speak with Kara because I'm not sure because of the co-location, if they kept the home
Right,
ability as their team or if they did a mix. I know we tried to do a mix in the past and I'll just leave it at that, but I'll have to follow up with her and find out.
I just have one concern where those letters are on the photograph.
Mhm.
I can't tell because the smaller building that we're gonna use, that parking lot is a lot smaller
Mhm.
than the other one, and I'd imagine there might be overflow into the larger. Is there
Yes,
a
so-
walkway in between?
There's a drive, you can drive
Oh,
through
okay, I
there.
could, okay,
Sorry,
you
I
could
had
drop
to,
somebody
I had to custom this one because
okay.
the maps that we're using doesn't have IACA on it yet, so I had to
Right,
actually
okay,
find
I
it
just
and make
didn't see
my own
under there,
map.
'cause I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
that could be a problem. Okay,
you can drive.
Mhm.
So that's, from a drop off. If it was like super crowded and you needed to drop somebody off, you
Mhm.
could.
or even if you have to park over on the right side and walk over.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
get there.
Mhm.
And assuming this is approved, which I imagine it will be today, I think a follow-up with Chairwoman Cupid would be good
Sure,
from one of you about
Sure.
what ultimately happened and what we're doing with this.
sure.
Alrighty then.
New to voters.
Any other questions for Smyrna 7A?
Nope.
Okay. Carroll Mill 01. This is also a new.
This one is also a lot of voters.
Okay, Terrell Mill 01, which was formerly Old East Valley Elementary. If you didn't know, the school closed down, but the school still permitted us to use the facility. And then they sold it to the Catholic Church. I've been in contact with them. We couldn't make it work for this year because of their potential renovations to the building. But said that they would be interested in having a follow-up conversation after the dust settles. No promises, but hopefully, we can find a permanent solution and don't have to wait for how long their renovation goes on, but we have that in the back pocket in case we can't find anything. This is also the one we were talking about previously with the church that we just couldn't strike a deal with because of the terms and the agreement.
Which church was that?
Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints.
Oh,
We were kind of going back. They were interested last year and then things kind of got crazy and then I followed up and we kind
Well,
of
you
like
shouldn't have
phone
brought your
tag.
iced tea with you.
Well, I thought we were gonna make it work, but there was just
Good.
kind of no middle ground that the county and their contract.
Contractually, they wanted more things and we can't restrict the voters.
Right.
Sure.
So,
That
Just some
would be tough.
things that it would be hard or don't even know if it would be right for us to try to enforce, so.
so we're co-locating with Soap Creek.
Soap Creek Elementary, which I wasn't thrilled about at first. I don't remember what our other solution was, but I know this one was closer. This is 1.5 miles, just to give you, and just so you know, this, like we mentioned, we have Eastside O2, we have Terrell Mill that all butt up, and we have needs for both of those, so it was kind of like the Smyrna 7A situation where that whole cluster just kind of.
We're
Well,
missing polling places
yeah.
in the whole area, basically.
And so it's
there's a
not
whole
just,
bunch of churches on this little Russell strip, so I could give you, I can help any way I can. I don't know the people there, but I'm happy to
Sure.
make calls if you want. or
I know
if
we've
you-
contacted quite a few of them.
Okay.
I think it's just a matter of getting them while they're there or having them respond to us. I know Site Survey has had conversations with a couple of them. And then it's kind of a
Mhm.
phone tag that they keep playing and it's hard for us, like with the schedule we have, we gotta show up on the weekends and then we don't really know who we're looking for. And sometimes I tried that 2 weekends ago? I tried to show up at a church and there was no church service. So I don't know if they just don't have a service in the morning or what, but it's just without resources or like somebody that knows somebody, it's kind of hard for us to get somebody and
Right.
keep that constant flow. of
So Soap
communication.
Creek is new.
New. And let's talk about school for a second. So May is an early release day
Correct.
and
And for elementary, are they elementary? Yeah,
yes.
they
elementary.
get out at
I think
12:30.
it's 12:30. Yeah.
But the parking lot, I am very familiar with that school. The parking lot's gonna be used by both voters and by people dropping off in the morning and picking up. And like the carpool line weaves through the
Yes.
parking lot and blocks
The parking.
the
space.
parking spaces as people are waiting
Can
to
you,
pick up and drop off.
where does that blockage happen here on?
I'll show you.
I'm like, that's exactly right.
On
Let's talk about
Soap
this one.
Creek, on
Mine's
Soap
lived at the
Creek
school for
Road.
a year, so I know the school. But
And the last
the
day.
entrance is up here. That's the street.
Okay.
And then you turn in here and I don't know if you can see it here, but that's a right turn. So you're forced, as soon as you turn in, you're forced to go that way and it weaves around. This is all one way. And then I think, and then this is all one way. Then you go all the way around. And I think you can either exit here or go back this way to where you came in. But this whole area is one way. So like at pickup time, you've got a line of parents parked here.
Okay.
All these spaces are blocked because people are waiting in the carpool line. If the carpool line goes all the way back here, they're blocked too. So at the times of carpool drop off and pickup, everyone's kind of frozen in their spots.
What about those parking spaces for the buses parked there? Or-
Well, you're not, these are
Actually, they-
bus lanes right here, and you're not even supposed to like go, the buses come out from that side. So the regular cars don't even go to this area because the buses are
Well,
coming.
isn't this an existing precinct?
Yes.
but now we're
Have
co-locating.
we, yeah, I understand, but I mean, it's not like, the turnout was 1,800 people,
It's a lot.
That's the most.
huh? Did I get the wrong line?
No,
No,
but that's a lot.
It's the second most on the
It's
list.
the second most on the list and it's almost
I
10,000
think outside
voters.
of the carpool times, it's not gonna be an issue,
Noon.
but like between like 7 to 8 a.m. and they get out at 12:30, they're gonna start lining up at 12. Maybe even before, because some people just do that.
30.
Especially at those, especially at the last day of school, these last days of school, people are there and they're
Yeah.
waiting and they're gonna like,
And they might have end of the year parties that day, like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a zoo for the last day of school. So,
I have concerns with this one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my concerns when we.
I know it's a regular precinct, but when we're talking about I know we can't do anything about it. This is what's presented, but we have got to have a conversation
Traffic flow.
with, yes, I think that has got to get worked out ahead of time. So that voters are not stuck in carpool traffic.
I mean, we can certainly look at.
We can have the school, we can reroute.
We're not acting.
Yeah, that's why this is complicated, because I'm sure that the team could come up with a solution where we could get cones out there to kind of make 2 lanes and, you know, create parking for voters only. But would the school allow us to do that? You know, they have their own, of course, we'll have a deputy, a mandatory deputy at all schools. So we will have one there to help, but I don't know if it's that crazy of a line. I don't know how much he's really gonna be able to help other than to, you
yeah,
know,
no,
let
the park,
somebody park.
it's that the parking spots are gonna be totally blocked by people waiting in the carpool lane. There's no in and out.
This is the one that gives me some trepidation.
I
This is
almost
the
want
one
to say
that-
voters, you can vote anytime you want to, but you might want to avoid the hours of 7 to 8 and like 11:30 to 1.
Which I feel like most of the voters that are familiar with the area, they kind of already have that understanding with it being in a school.
But not,
It's
But not the
never
new
been
news.
here.
exactly the
And
new
that's why,
voters.
right, that's why I say, because it's an existing precinct, you've got half the voters who are gonna know the rhythm, but you've got another almost 5,000 voters, 4,991 voters.
There's one
Is that a
entrance, one exit.
There might be 2 exits, but there's only one entrance. Like at that top middle,
That's
right
where
to
you come
the,
in.
to the left of black box,
Okay.
that's where
Where
you
you
turn
come
in
in.
on the main street.
And
And then
then,
it's one way and it leaves you around.
uh-huh. So
From
the
the-
other 2,
I don't
need that black.
That might not be an exit. So I think
I think it is an in and out.
yeah, so it's all one way. Turn in and you weave around towards the left, then you go to the front entrance of the school and then you go all the way around. So it's like one big circle. And it's all one way.
Let me check.
There's no emergency. Back
Now I will say, because I've been to the school before,
to the back, there's. gotta
no,
be
so
some-
I just remembered this. If you can get to this parking lot, it's not blocked by carpool. So the carpool, this is the front of the school right here. So the carpool line starts here and it gets backed up that way.
Got it.
These people are not blocked by the carpool line, but once this line is blocked, you can't even get to these spaces.
Oh, 2, so it's a single file line.
That's, it may be an out.
Yeah, I think Beth pulled it. I think this is an out. This area will not get blocked in by the carpool line.
But you can't get
But
there.
you can't get there once the carpool line is formed. Does that make sense?
It totally makes
What
sense.
if,
Sat in that carpool.
what if you had an officer out there making people leave a space to cut through to what, so you can get to that area?
Maybe can you make this 2 ways? I don't know. Like if this could be, I don't know.
I think
It's gonna be
the
rough.
question is, we know what we have to do today because we know where we sit.
Mhm.
But I think as a follow-up, I think it would behoove us as a board to understand what the site survey team thinks we can do regarding traffic pattern in conjunction, whether it's with the school resource officer or the traffic, who's ever doing traffic control at that school, but this one gives me a little bit of heartburn because of the turnout and the fact that we're co-locating new voters there
Mhm.
in a high turnout election.
And those two precincts are consistent. 2022, they had more, bigger turnout than 2020.
I'm looking at the numbered list for the primary in 22, and it was 1,500. So I mean, still relatively close.
Are
That's
you
for
looking
one.
at the numbered list?
Mhm.
Well, true to form, the Secretary of State says 2,065 for
Are you
election.
looking at the general?
Primary.
That's what.
He's
I'm looking at the May, just,
I'm looking at the May.
oh, you are?
Yeah. It
22?
was for election day.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would I was gonna say, there's that, did yours have the combined? They put them back in.
Those were the two, Terrell Mill 01 and Sub Creek 02.
But basically, I know what we have to do today.
Yeah.
And I sense that they picked this because there wasn't a better option.
Mhm.
But I think we all know, we have all sat in carpools,
Sure.
that is parents are gonna get there early.
Well, I mean, we still have a couple weeks, we can,
We can suggest they move the carpool line over to the right, so it won't bottleneck in that horseshoe when you come in. If they can, instead of picking up the kids right in front of the school, if they can pick them up, like come out the building, turn to the right and move the carpool line down so that cars can pass.
another option too is I'm gonna hopefully have a meeting with, public safety this week with the sheriff's office and police, Cobb PD. And, you know, though we are required to have the one maybe for any of the co-located in the schools during drop off and pickup, we could have additional resources there to help
Yeah.
with traffic.
That's kind of why I was like, maybe you want to talk to the resource officers and figure out if there's any way to pull somebody else in.
I'm hesitant about contacting the resource officers just because of our fragile
Yeah.
relationship, but
Within school.
Cobb PD and the SO
Who's,
always want to also is.
so the Sojourn Church that's over there, there's a pastor there.
Well, okay, so we're aware of,
Maybe for.
Because because the thing is, we know that this conversation is going on with the school district anyways, and that they're gonna point to this as example number one of like, sure, we can do this, this is interfering kind of thing,
Mhm.
so.
But like hypothetically, if we say we don't like this option, isn't it too late for May 19th to come up?
There
We're
is-
gonna have to approve this.
Right.
there is, that's why I said we need to just deal with what we've discussed and move on. I mean, we can beat this horse for another 2 hours.
I think we know there needs to be some follow-up
Sure.
regarding if there's anything that we can do for those carpool times. I think that's it, but otherwise, agreed.
And I think the principal probably, I mean, we can talk to the school district, but it's really up to the principal to decide how it's gonna work.
Mhm. Well, we actually we're only allowed to communicate with specific individuals. We're not allowed to have any direct contact with the schools anymore. So we have to go through one contact for each level of the schools,
Okay.
elementary, middle, high. And then so that's not really an option for us either. So that's why I'm,
Yeah,
you know, trying to be diplomatic here, but I think our best option would be to see if law enforcement can help us because they'll keep the flow going and they'll try to.
I think that's
mitigate
our
as much
best
as they can.
solution.
I agree.
okay, well, we're stuck, so.
This is just one that needs to be on everybody's radar on election day.
It was on my radar this
Any,
morning.
any school that we co-locate into is always
I
on the
wasn't
radar,
even considering
specifically when school's in session.
location.
Right, and we have a few, we just have a few, so. I know that Loving Good was one that Kendall had mentioned also needed some traffic control. I feel like that was one.
No,
of them.
IDA,
Oh, that's,
that one's across the street from.
Nick and Jack.
Jack.
Okay.
Elementary. Mhm.
all right, so the last one is Willio 01. What do we have with that one?
Willio 01. Is this? I think we've approved this before.
Beth is saying it's co-located.
Well, it's a renew.
Or we're not.
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you, already, this is
Yeah, I
already
think
approved
we've
it.
already voted with
Yes.
these two combos.
Right, this one's a renew, so. And it's not quite as many voters either.
So 0.5 mile difference.
Yeah, they're literally
It's a redo, yeah.
very close together.
So we've done it before.
We've done this one before, yeah, and it's,
And this was
6,200
actually,
miles.
this church was the one that came to our aid, trying to find a solution to Tim Lee. They were the ones that stepped forward and was willing to host us for 3 weeks of early voting. Okay,
All right.
that is all of them.
all right.
Madam Chair.
Do we have any other questions for Michael on these or any other comments? All right, we will open it up to public hearing.
Oh, sorry. Let me-
All right, so there's no public hearing. I
No
think.
public comment.
Oh, no.
There is a public hearing.
No,
There's no
there's
comment.
public comment on this, I guess. And then Danny, you had said it was okay for us to take them all in one
Yes,
chunk.
as long as they're on the agenda, you can say. Item 2,
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve, item, temporary polling location changes for items A through K? Or do you want to pass it?
I do, that's what why I was saying, Madam Chair, this list here isn't necessarily the list that.
This
was
wasn't a
not
publicized
prior.
list. This list wasn't publicized.
This was public,
Right,
and some of these are retreads.
but we needed to redo them because we already did
They
the end of
expired.
last year.
They expired.
Mhm.
Okay, me too. All right, Madam Chair. I move that we approve all temporary locations as listed on the agenda A through K and extend these through the end of 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any additional discussion? All right, all those in favor?
I,
Aye. And it passes 4-0. So all of our co-locations are approved through the end of the year.
does that make you feel good, Michael?
I won't say good, but it's another thing checked off the list.
Well, and I think we shouldn't need to revisit this really until next year.
Mhm.
That's,
Well, hopefully
Hopefully it'll drop out.
hopefully we will have another conversation, but it's for a permanent solution,
Mhm.
not next year.
Yeah.
Approving co-locations again.
right, right. All right, so we have 2 new business items on the agenda today. One of them is to discuss the acceptance of hand-delivered absentee by mail ballots at the elections office on the Saturday, Sunday, and Monday between the close of advanced in-person voting and election day. Stacy had brought this up. You want to talk about this and what your thoughts are?
Yeah, we've done this, we did this in 2024 during the presidential election. We had, a large number of voters turning in absentee ballots and that Saturday, Sunday, Monday, advanced voting in person had already ended. And there was no more voting until election day, so we had the election office open and available to accept hand-delivered absentee ballots on those 3 days. So we thought it was good for voter access, and it didn't really add that much incremental work because we already had office people working and everything. So I just thought it would be a good idea to extend that same access to the voters this time around and in November. So that was my suggestion.
Sure. So I've discussed this with the office. This was something that, it's kind of expected of us, even if we don't think of it all. I remember, I don't remember which election it was, but there was the lady that came in and slipped her.
Yeah.
ballot through.
It was
Through the
November.
door. There was
Yes.
2 that did
There
that.
were a few, we're gonna go back and look at the cameras
Yeah.
and. Yeah.
And so, we don't ever want anyone to
Mhm.
have to submit their ballot like that. So the team is fully committed to working Saturday, Sunday, of course, Monday. I mean, realistically, we're still gonna be here either way if we're,
Right.
even if we're not accepting ballots. So it just makes sense, gives a little more accessibility to the voters. So the the office is proposing we keep the same hours that we would for weekend voting before. So Saturday from 9 to 5, and then Sunday from 12 to 5. And then, of course, normal business hours, 8 to 5 on Monday. And of course, they still have until 7 PM on election day to get in their ballot.
And I like this idea. First of all, I think from a consistency perspective, I think we've done it in the past. I think we're gonna look to codifying this in a policy so that it's just part of our absentee offering. But I do think, you know, I like the idea of mirroring what we do for other weekend voting hours, and I appreciate the staff's willingness to do this. I think having this vote and talking about it also means that we should publicize, you know, we should make sure that it's listed in our offering and on our flyers.
Okay.
So that's one of the things I just wanted to make sure that we're communicating to voters what the hours that we approved today are and the availability of it, whether it's signage here or on our flyers where
We're gonna have to reimagine the AIP flyer, because that thing is slap full with information that I don't know.
well, it might not be on the AIP flyer. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's just part of our, you know, FAQs on our absentee by mail page. Like, we just need to
Yeah.
make sure that
Yeah.
this is updated in places that voters access to see information about how they can deliver their ABM ballots.
Michael, what do you guys do for chain of custody on these ballots? Is there a daily chain of custody done? So if you receive 15 ballots, it's there.
Yeah, so they'll actually be members from absentee here. So we'll have somebody at the front desk. It just kind of depends on what's going on. That person can accept it there. I think in the past, when registration was manning the windows, and somebody came in, I think they are instructed to contact absentee, and then that's
What I
where,
witnessed when that happened was anything but, or I mean, it was everything. It was chaotic behind the wall. And I think if we're going to do this, there needs to be a daily chain of custody of what was received.
sure.
But they're doing
And,
it every day here anyway. They're actually, because we don't have.
Yeah, there's-
They're doing it every day.
That raises that question. Do they do any kind of chain of custody with that, since it's not coming through the mail? If I was dropping it off in a Dropbox, there is a chain of custody for that ballot.
Yes, ma'am.
This, in my opinion, should be treated just the same. The only thing is, there's not a box to put it in.
Well, I don't know, my recollection, you know, we talked about all this with the RNC case, the Savannah case in 2024. My recollection is we talked, I think there was even maybe been an affidavit about how they were handled. And then there was a tray that they were stamped and the time was noted and they were put in a specific box.
Mhm.
And so even if there wasn't always the same person there, the people up front knew or should have known that's how they were gonna process them. So that was my, at least when in 2024, when we had to go to that, we had that silly court hearing in Savannah,
On absentee ballots?
and they said, remember the RNC suit and said that Fulton and Cobb are.
They
absentee ballot?
stopped judges and.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then there were 7 counties and only Savannah's the only one of the 7.
Yeah.
For shopping and
Actually, that's how
so
you.
in that
Yeah.
case, multiple counties submitted affidavits saying we were open and this is how the ballots were handled and
Yeah, I do remember
Yeah.
that.
there was a process in 2020.
Okay.
I mean, I know when you drop off now, there is a process.
Yes.
I've watched them. They have logs, they have.
Just making sure,
Yes.
because what I witnessed, there didn't seem to be a process.
And Michael, I found the absentee page on our site,
Mhm.
and there's like a section of like how to submit your ballot. And there's already, it says mail, where to mail it, hand deliver in person. We could put it there and just put the hours that are available, and then that explains it easily. So you've already got the mail, hand deliver, and drop in a Dropbox.
And for hand delivered, it actually doesn't have any hours right now. So it might want to say in general what the office hours are, and then,
For this election.
you know, sort of extended, you know, that there will be that Saturday and Sunday.
And
kind
then
of
this one
thing.
doesn't even, like, the way it is now, hand deliver, it doesn't even specify what the hours are today.
That's what we just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just saying it
But all
probably,
of hours.
it
Yeah.
needs to say all the hours of when the
Yeah.
office is open and then now these additional
Mhm.
3. And then specifically on election day, it probably needs to say You're gonna probably put on their business hours,
Yes.
right, 8 to 5, but on election day, you're gonna say that that's extended till 7 p.m.
It already says that well, it says the Cobb County Board of Elections must receive your ballot by 7 p.m. on election day.
But that's under the drop in a drop
That's right.
box. So we need to make sure that I think that page needs to get reformatted a little bit.
They can't have a Dropbox past Friday.
Right, that's exactly
The
right.
way it's broken up.
This FAQ needs to be, or this section of the website needs to be addressed, because it does. say-
That's on the ABM page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dropbox ends at 7 p.m. Friday.
It's the page that, yeah, it's called absentee voting, and first it tells you how to request, and then it tells you how to submit. And I was looking in the how to submit section.
And in general, that page probably needs to be revised.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
There's
a
several,
video on there.
there's several areas that we're working on it.
I just think this is probably one that I would put on the
In real
priority.
time.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we're definitely, if we're gonna vote on this today, we want to make sure that this information gets out to the voters. Maybe even a little, blurb on the front page, news alert type thing. So voters are aware. So are there other questions? I think Debbie's concern about what the process is for how it's hand deliveries dealt with at the office might be a good follow-up item for the whole
Sure,
board.
I'll follow up with everyone, but
Just showing us what the form is, and I know that they are doing something, so just that follow-up, I think, is important.
that's good because it'll give time to Lee to kind of see how they work and all of that, so kind of two birds, one stone.
Okay,
But any other thoughts or questions on the hand delivery?
Um, I make a
You certainly, yeah,
Oh.
please do.
I make a motion to accept hand-delivered absentee by mail ballots at the election office on a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
If you want to do the dates.
May 16th.
you know, we don't have to approve the ballots being delivered on Monday. That's already a thing.
But it doesn't hurt to say it,
Okay. Well,
honestly. we
it's
didn't-
already a thing. It has been at
Let's
least
let her
since
fin-
I've been
Let's let her
involved.
finish her motion and then we can have discussion.
Okay, I motion to accept hand-delivered absentee by mail ballots at the election office on Saturday, May 16th, Sunday, May 17th, Monday, May 18th, which is between the close of advance in-person voting and election day, and those hours would be 9 to 5 on Saturday, 12 to 5 on Sunday, and 8 to 5 on Monday.
Comment. I think it's
Wait.
worth,
We have
We
a
have a second, then we can discuss.
I'll second.
Okay.
I think we should absolutely include the Monday because typically a lot of voters think that once absentee, advanced voting ends on Friday, they think they can't vote again until Tuesday on election day. So I think it's worth saying Monday, to include the drop off in the office.
I agree.
To Debbie's point, you actually don't, in the past, you didn't actually move to approve this, we just talked about it but given the lawsuit that we had last time, I prefer just to have, that way we can just go and say, not only did we talk about it and advertise it, but we voted on it, so there's no question that, everybody had a chance to hear about it. So this is really my recommendation that there be a motion, and that legally, you probably don't have to, but it does help just to document it. There's more on the second one, I think you would want to have a vote, but on this particular item, but I think this is more just sort of perfecting the record, just because things that I never thought we'd have lawsuits on, we get lawsuits on these days.
Well, and from a public communication perspective, to Kendall's point, people don't know that they can vote
Right.
technically in terms of turning in those ballots. So I think we're having a public conversation.
Right.
And now there's going to be, public communication about it in that way. So I think it's good. I also think moving forward, something to do is just to make sure this is included in the offering that we vote on at the time. Like we're voting on this after we've already approved the AMP schedule and AD, I think we should look at this as part of the absentee offering that comes before the board, in perpetuity now.
Or
Like when we look at June,
for even years.
for
Or are
even
we talking
years.
specials too?
Let's just look at this year for right now, and we'll work on even year policy. Because I think even your policy is what we're talking about ultimately. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
And it passes 3-1 with Debbie as a no vote. All right, the second item on the agenda is sort of the second, or on the new business items, is sort of the next part of this hand delivery discussion. In the past, we have accepted hand delivery of absentee by mail ballots at advanced in-person voting locations that don't have drop boxes. This is authorized in code by OCGA 21-2382, as is stated on our agenda. And we've done this before. I think it's just sort of been done. I don't know that we've actually had to vote on it before. I also know that we're sort of reaching a point where it's too, like, we should have dealt with this earlier. I didn't realize that it wasn't happening. So really, I want to discuss if this is something that the board is interested in. We would potentially really just table this until June, till we deal with the June schedule, because I think at this point, it's really, the AIP folks have been trained. Obviously, today's the first day of early in-person voting. I don't think we can change what we're doing midstream, but we can have a discussion and then potentially table this item, so it will be old business when we take up the next AIP schedule for June, for the June runoff. Because if we remember, we tabled that one to see what happens.
Right.
So we're going to take that up in May, but this gives them time to sort of prepare for the likelihood of our board wanting to do this. So that's kind of why I thought it was still worthy to discuss it today, even if we end up tabling it. So I put that out there. And Michael, you can address it, or whoever wants to.
Sure. So actually, Lee and I had a few moments towards the end of our meeting to kind of discuss this. And we both want to take a deeper dive into it and have a bigger conversation with the staff over this. The main thing right now is, like you said, we've already started. It was we were a little late in the game. But additionally, to try to do it for June, we don't have training for June. So that would be an added step, and not only trying to develop this new process and the things that we need to do it appropriately.
They'll have to create a new training or get it out to the AIP workers on a pretty tight timeline. So theoretically, I think it would be more appropriate if we move in this direction that it would be implemented for November.
I'm just gonna say, again, talking about chain of custody, dropping off ballots at an advanced voting location in which there is not a drop box is asking for trouble, in my opinion.
Sure.
There is no chain of custody. You don't know who it was handed to. You don't know who brought it in. You don't know how many they were. You don't know where they're putting them unless they do what Fulton is doing, which is quite creative. They're having drop bags, like Santa's bag of gifts.
So this takes the whole meaning of absentee ballots to a whole new level. And if you're gonna do this, you better figure out a chain of custody that tracks these ballots. And that's my opinion. I don't care whether it's May, June, or November. I'm opposed to it.
Sure. And some of the same concerns that Lee and I were discussing about.
It's around the statute on one drop box for every 100,000.
No, it was
It's not
actually,
an end around.
it was actually,
It is in there.
Debbie,
No, it's-
it's, yes, from your lawyer, the provision allowing additional places. Absentee mail voting was around before drop boxes existed, so it can't be an end around when it existed before.
And I don't agree with that law either, so, you know, so I stand on.
End around implies there was a rule and we're trying to get around it. This was around before the drop boxes, so the drop boxes are really an end around the original rule, if you want to frame it that way.
No,
You like drop boxes is what you're saying, but that's not an end around.
It's another law that is in conflict with another law. And we have a lot of them. It's not the only one.
I'm just opposed to it, so I wanted to
I don't think it's a, sorry.
I look forward to getting your feedback on the policy or how it would work. I think it's a great idea. So I look forward to hearing how we can make it work.
Sure.
Same.
And
Because I've been at polling places where there has been a drop box and where there have not, and people make the effort to get there, and if they're told they cannot turn it in, that I don't want that to happen.
sure.
So I think it's possible that we can make it happen. So I look forward to hearing.
Same.
I want to say a couple things. One is, we've done this before.
I know.
It's definitely been, and it's happening sort of metro-wide. And I think that when we talk about June, one of the things that's crucial for me in my brain is that we have such a short turnaround. And that's why this particular idea of accepting the ballots at the non-Dropbox locations really is about voter accessibility at a time when the mail is not of service to them. So I really believe that we should try to think about how this, I was surprised that we weren't doing it because we've done it in the past. And I know that we have the means and I believe the skill set to be able to do it. I don't think it's one of those things that it's an overwhelming amount of, I believe that there is work that we need to do to make sure we have the chain of custody, but I don't think it's an overwhelming amount of
It's
work.
not burdensome.
And because I've done it, because I've actually done it, I've actually done that work. And I think that, we can have people that are maybe specifically trained that that's what they, those few people, we're talking about 13 AIP locations, 6 of which already have drop boxes, right? So we're talking about 7 locations, having a deputy registrar, maybe who knows that process, or training those 7 people. Or 10 to 12 people, probably, because you're not going to have the same person there all the time. I'm just trying to think about it practically because I know there's a very short turnaround in that runoff. And I know that we have trouble with the mail. So I'm looking at it from that voter accessibility, but I hear you and I'm open to discussion. I'm just speaking from my voter accessibility timeframe in that particular runoff. I'd love to be able to do it in November, no matter what.
So if we aren't doing this in June, can we go ahead and table this and adjourn?
No, I mean,
We're tabling this.
I hear
We
that
aren't
you're
voting
done.
it, we
I
aren't
hear that you're
voting.
done discussing it, but we might not all be done discussing it. So I get that you're finished, but I still wanted to just relay that. And yes, we can have a motion to table it if we're ready to do that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody has, spoken and that we're interested still in hearing about this potentially for June or only for November. What's the consensus?
If we can get something in place by June, absolutely. If not, definitely November.
Right. And I mean, obviously you're going to research how it would work logistically. And so I think that's what Debbie's concerned about. We obviously want it to work. We want the staff to know what the process is and to have a designated person collect it. So we'll let y'all research and come back to us. And I do agree. It would reduce voter confusion because I've had an absentee ballot before and I'm automatically trained to think I can just go to my early voting place and turn it in because that's what I'm used to doing. And it probably wouldn't occur to most people that only certain advanced voting places would accept it, except for the super savvy that know to look that up. So if we can make it easier, then I think it's a great idea.
Great. Yeah, the idea of turning anybody away is the rough one. So,
Right.
but we'll defer to what you bring to us.
Yeah.
So I guess we can take a motion then. I'd still like to table this to, I think May, so that we can bring it back up with the AIP
Sure.
schedule. If that works for y'all, even if we end up tabling this piece again.
Yep.
So does somebody want to make that motion?
I motion to table this discussion to the May meeting,
Right? Is there a second?
My second.
May certification.
May certification meeting.
I think that's the 26th.
19th.
Because we have to do it on the Tuesday
Sounds
after
right.
Monday's Memorial Day.
It's right here. September.
Oh, great. I have so many papers. Okay, May 26th.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to table this to May 22nd, May 26th.
Mhm.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? No, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Great. It is successfully tabled. We will bring that back around on May 26th. I believe we have a need to go into executive session.
Just briefly.
Okay, great. So,
Motion.
motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion. I move that we move into executive session
For the purposes of discussing
for the purposes of discussing
potential and pending
potential
litigation.
and pending litigation.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to go into executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Did you vote? All those abstention?
No, hey, yay,
Wait, what was your answer?
yay.
Yay, okay, I heard no and yay, so I wasn't sure.
Okay, so we are in officially executive session at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.